Welcome to Unraveling the Pattern. I'm Lauren. They finally did it. Last year, a few lucky people who attended the first WoTCon got to see 2 deleted scenes from Season 1 of Amazon's The Wheel of Time pilot episode. They released one of the scenes publicly, but for some reason, it's taken Amazon over 8 months to finally release this second scene. Here's everything you need to know about the deleted scene. Spoiler warning, the first part of this video contains no book spoilers and will only discuss Season 1 spoilers for the Wheel of Time TV show on Prime Video. In the last bit of this video, I'll bring up another spoiler warning where I'll discuss full book spoilers. Please do not watch the full book spoiler section of this video if you haven't read the books. Trust me, you don't want to know what happens at the end of the series without reading it or watching the show for yourself. In the original pilot episode, we see a small part of this scene before it cuts away. Well, it turns out the original scene was extended a bit to fill in some details about the Two Rivers history and more about the Althor family. Here's the scene.
Too early for breakfast?
Never too early for your mum's bread. He left before I woke. She loved you, you know, my wife. Do you remember her at all?
I remember her eyes. So blue, just like Rand's. Her hair was red like his.
When your mum and dad were rebuilding the inn after the fire, they sent you up mountain to stay the summer with us. And she'd spend all day with you, playing with you, holding you, as if you were her very own daughter.
You must miss her so much.
I do. Of course I do. But there's something about death that's clean, final. And a clean cut, even if it's 3 times as deep, will always heal better than something ragged. Something messy and raw. You have his heart in your hand, girl. Be gentle with it. Is all I have.
I'm personally so disappointed that the scene was removed. I'm sure there are many reasons for why they had to cut up the pilot episode and had to leave a lot of things on the cutting room floor, but to me this scene was super short and very helpful in filling in some important backstory for many of the characters in the show, and I think the whole episode would have been better if they'd kept this in. I especially like how we get to see a softer side of Tam, Rand's father, played by Michael McElhatton. The very first shot shows Tam hand-making the lamp that he'll later use to honor his wife who passed. From the books we learn it's a tradition in the Two Rivers to put flowers on the graves of those who have passed every year on Beltane and on another holiday called Sunday. But in the show they changed this to a beautiful tradition where lamps are lit and floated down the wine spring water in remembrance of their deceased loved ones. In the pilot we see that some people take this tradition more seriously than others. Matt, who seems to constantly have trouble with money, chooses to steal a bracelet and then use it to barter with Pat and Fane, the peddler, to eventually purchase lamps for his family, rather than taking the time to hand make the lamps. Tam, on the other hand, takes the time to think about his wife as he makes a lamp in her memory. So much is said in such a short scene. As the camera pans up, we see Tam sniffling, as if he's been crying. Egwene approaches Tam, and we get the same beginning part of the scene that's shown in the pilot. But then, after Tam tells Egwene that Rand left earlier, rather than showing a close-up of Egwene, the scene cuts back to Tam, who looks down at the lamp he's been making. It's clear in his next line that his wife is on his mind. He tells Egwene his wife loved her, and then he asks her if she remembers his wife at all. Egwene says she remembers her eyes, so blue just like Rand's, and red hair just like his. This is a very interesting detail to me because very few people this side of the spine of the world have lighter blue eyes and red hair. I think the show has made it slightly unclear who Carrie Althor really was. Could she be the same woman that Tam found in the snow, giving birth to Rand? Or is she someone else? Book readers know the answers to these questions, but I wonder if they're intentionally making it less clear in the show. Anyway, Tam then mentions something about Two Rivers history, claiming that when Egwene was little, she was sent to stay with the Althor family for a time while the Winespring Inn was being rebuilt after a fire. This is an interesting little detail that's never revisited that I can tell, but I like to think that we'll learn more about this in a future season of the show. What do you think happened that caused the fire? My favorite theory about this fire is that it had something to do with the Cothans. Perhaps Matt's parents were involved in some way. Perhaps somebody even died, which could help to explain why Natty and Abel Cawthon have such a strained and difficult relationship and are sort of the town's poor drunks. I've said this before, but my hope is that the attack on Winternight and the resulting fear of temporarily losing their daughters will be the beginning of them mending their relationship. I think it will also help the whole community to come together to rebuild, and perhaps the Cothans will take part in mending themselves and the town. Anyway, back to the deleted scene. Tam talks about how much his wife loved Egwene and treated her like her own daughter. I'm guessing this was the beginning of Rand and Egwene's relationship. I like to think that Carrie Althor was responsible for setting the two of them up together. Another reason I think this scene was brilliant is because it does a good job of revealing more about the Dragon Reborn's backstory without focusing on Rand. It's a good way to mask the fact that Rand is the dragon this early in the show, because really the scene on the surface is about Egwene's relationship with Rand and Tam's backstory. Tam talks to Egwene about how he misses his wife, but then he says this line, which I understand is a bit heavy and possibly unnatural as dialogue, but I think it's full of meaning. Tam says,
But there's something about death that's clean. Final. And a clean cut, even if it's 3 times as deep, will always heal better than something ragged. Something messy and raw. You have his heart in your hand, girl. Be gentle with it. Is all I have.
This moment of emotion is so beautiful, and in my opinion really helps to clarify that Rand's father is a good man who loves and cares for him. His emotion as he thinks about his wife and the only person he has left, Rand, is so wholesome and wonderful to me. It really is a shame we didn't get this moment in the final cut of the episode. This actor is likely most well known for playing the villainous character Roose Bolton in Game of Thrones, so I'm guessing that Game of Thrones fans might have seen him in this role in The Wheel of Time and immediately had some trust issues with his character. Seeing him show this kind of tenderness for his son, I think, would have helped to ease some people's concerns about his character. Anyway, back to the dialogue. His discussion of death being clean and final, and how it relates back to the turning of the wheel and the reincarnation of souls really helps to bring his later comments in the episode full circle, when he says,
All we can do is the best we can with the life that's given to us. And take comfort from it. But no matter what happens, what pain we face, what heartbreak, even death, the wheel keeps turning. Always. We try again. Maybe do a little better than the last time.
This is such an important and foundational theme in the entirety of the Wheel of Time series, but also for Rand's character arc throughout the books. Seeing him discuss this as he talks about his wife and son, for me, really hits home that Tam is a good father and Rand was raised right. But then Tam says to Egwene, a clean cut, even if it's 3 times as deep, will always heal better than something ragged, something messy and raw. This is a great foreshadowing for what happens to Tam later in this episode, when he gets a shallow but ragged and messy cut from a Trolloc blade. He encourages her to treat Rand with gentleness, to make a clean cut if she's going to break up with him. It makes the following scene more impactful in my opinion, because then Egwene goes to meet Rand on the mountain to be truthful with him about her desires to become a village wisdom. I think it helps to ground Egwene and Rand's relationship, while also helping to solidify the importance of Rand and Tam's relationship. Anyway, I want to discuss one more tiny thing, but it's foreshadowing related to the very ending of the book series and contains full book spoilers. So here's the part where I tell you to please like the video, subscribe to Unraveling the Pattern, and consider watching some of my other content and/or supporting me here on YouTube or on Patreon for as little as $1 per month. Special thanks to my wonderful supporters. Also, I don't have sponsors in my videos, but this video is sort of sponsored by a really fun upcoming Wheel of Time event called WoT Idol. It's a fun Wheel of Time song parody challenge that I help organize each year along with the wonderful John from WoT and Matt and Honest from the Dusty Wheel. There are all kinds of prizes and awards this year, but most importantly, we just want to have fun celebrating the Wheel of Time and this awesome fandom through fun music. The deadline for the song parody challenge is April 3rd, 2023. You can read all of the rules and submit your parody through WoTidol.com. Be sure to check it out. Now, spoiler warning. This next very short section will contain major book spoilers for the very ending of the series. And trust me, if you haven't read all of the Wheel of Time books, you do not want to know about this spoiler. So, non-book readers, thanks for watching. Now go away. I just wanted to say one last thing about this line from Tam. Notice who he's talking to when he says, "There's something about death that's clean, final, and a clean cut, even if it's 3 times as deep, will always heal better than something ragged, something messy and raw." This is such a beautiful foreshadowing of Egwene's own sacrifice and eventual death. They even foreshadow this moment with Egwene near the end of Season 1, when she nearly dies from burnout during the battle at Faldara. In the last battle, Egwene chooses to make a clean cut, so to speak, and in so doing, she essentially repairs the pattern and helps Rand to finish his final task in the last battle. Such an awesome and devastating moment. I think it's very clear that the entire first season is heavily foreshadowing the big moments in the last battle. And even though there are some major issues with Season 1, I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get all the way to the end of the book series, and that many of the little, even sometimes frustrating choices that were made in Season 1 will pay off in the end. So what did you think of this deleted scene? Do you think it should have stayed in the show, or are you glad it was cut? Thanks for watching. Remember, let the dragon ride again on the winds of Prime.